In today's video, I'm going to show you how to build a pillager camp and try and inspire you to work with pillager mobs or their architecture style as a way to give your Minecraft world some hot lore. Why pillagers? Well, ever since the 1.14 update, pillagers have been some of my favorite mobs in the game. Villagers have existed pretty much forever, and they put an established society inside of your Minecraft world. They are farmers, leather workers, and traders in an agrarian society. However, we don't know much about the pillagers. They're stationed in their military outposts and can be found in the woodland mansions, but as far as we know, they just go around raiding villages. This camp is something of my own design to give the pillagers a place to live while they're on the move between raids, and thus it's made out of small tents, a wall thrown together, and a few pens for their animals. The first thing you're going to want to do is find a nice location to build the camp. It can be anywhere you want, and I actually think some biome variety would be great with this build, as we assume the pillagers are traveling through all of the biomes. You could build this in the plains, desert, or tundra for easy building, as you won't have to clear any trees. I'm building in a spruce forest as it seems to match the aesthetic, but dark oak forest would also be really good. Know that clearing out trees takes a while. It took me a while in creative mode, so for you in survival it will be longer. Depending on how many tents you want, you will also need to clear a bigger area. The tents are 12 by 7 blocks. I outlined my tents with red wool to plan out my building space. I think a minimum of 4 tents is good, 6 is a great number and is what I went with, and if you want a massive military camp, you could go up to 12 or so. I spaced out my tents by 4 blocks side by side, and then had them be 10 blocks across from each other so they're not too cluttered. Once your tents are planned out, your main building blocks will be dark oak planks, stairs, slab, and the fence, as well as gray wool. Dark oak wood is the aesthetic of the Pillagers throughout their outpost and the woodland mansion, so we're going to stay consistent with that theme. To build these tents, you will place a stair on either side of the 7 side of the rectangle. Then you will place an upside down stair against it. On top of that upside down stair, you will place a plank, and then on top of that, another stair. The pattern is then another upside down stair, another plank on top of that, and then another stair. You'll match this on the other side, and at the meeting point, you'll place a stair to connect the 3 stairs and have a fence underneath of it. This is the frame of the tent. It will match on the other side of the tent as well. Once you have your frames, it's time to build up the wool part of the tent. The ground row of the tent's edge can be filled in easily. Then 2 more rows of wool can be placed behind it and 1 block up. In the middle of the bottom row, you will place 4 elevated wool, leaving 3 spaces on either side like so. The final row of wool is simple and goes straight across. For the top of the tent's frame, place a backward stair against the middle stair, and then use slabs to go across the top. Then you can just match the wool on the other side and finish off the foundation of the tent. To add some space to the interior of your tents, you can knock out 4 of the middle blocks, because you do have the 4 on the first row of the wool that will still be there as an interior wall. It makes the tent interior just a little bit more spacious and better. Once all of your tents are done, it's time to start decorating. The first decorations should be lights, and I'd recommend using lanterns hanging from the fence post. I'll also like to put more planks underneath the front and back of the tent to complete the frame. Because these tents are supposed to be temporary housing while the pillagers are on raids, they won't exactly have flooring. They'd sleep on the grass. But to make the inside look a little bit nicer, you can use path blocks to make it look like the ground inside the tent is worn down from their sleeping and walking around in the tent. It makes the tent look a lot nicer, and it is a change that will apply to all of them. Next, I'd recommend giving some personalization to each tent, maybe to match each of the Pillagers you see in a raid. Witches work with the Pillagers, so you can put a cauldron down for their potion making, or just as a water source for the group. One tent could have a cartography table and be the man who is responsible for finding villages to raid in their next camping spot out in the world. One tent could be the weaponsmith, who is responsible for making their weapons and armor, and he could have a damaged anvil to show that this is in process. It'd be cool as well if you made a map of the camp and put it in their cartography tent. If you're building this on a world with your own custom village, that map of that village could be here as well to show their next target. If you're enjoying the video so far, consider dropping a like or sharing it on Twitter or Reddit. It'd be awesome if we can get 3,000 subscribers, and your support really helps the channel. After you have the foundation of the camp with tents, it's time to start a basic wall. This isn't going to be an impressive wall with multiple blocks textures and layers of detail, as in the lore that we're making, the pillagers will just throw up a basic fortification so they won't be attacked in the middle of the night while they're asleep. Probably attacked by zombies or other pillager factions. I'm using stripped dark oak logs and doing random elevations so the wall doesn't look like it had a plan to it. The wooden fences on top represent spikes so that potential enemies couldn't theoretically climb over it. This effect is a lot easier to pull off when making the wall diagonally instead of just horizontally, as the fences won't connect. You can get more randomization in height as a result. Once the wall is up, it's time to finalize the camp with decorations. This can be personalized to your location and your specific lore. I went with an archery practice setup, using the new target blocks on fences and a few crossbows so the pillagers can test their aim before battle. Fence posts next to the tents are a great place to put horses on a lead, and we can assume that the pillagers are traveling long distances across horses before settling their camps. Giving the horses some water and a few hay bales can really make the scene come together. If they had to cut down a forest to settle like mine did, then having some logs tied to the ground would make a great decoration as well. Raids famously have ravagers, and ravagers can't simply be tied to a lead. Because of their size and ferocity, I'd imagine the pillagers would have their own pens for their raid animals at the back of the camp, and using podzol and coarse dirt can make the pens feel animalistic and inhabited. Finally, a villager in a cage is another possibility. Depending on what you want to do, you could even have them be torturing a villager or experimenting on them with a witch. Spreading path blocks around the camp are a final touch that help polish it and make it look inhabited. I added a massive 3x2 campfire in the center of the camp where they might cook their meats from their hunts as well as tell stories before battle. Minecraft is a game with endless possibilities, so there is endless lore and story you can add to your world with builds, and the pillager camp is one I was very fond of and thought I'd share with you guys. If you ever build one, you can tweet me a pic of it or send one in my Discord, both links which are below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time.